this is an opportunity where we can utilize a little known clause that if you move more than 100 miles away, you actually can take out your second FHA loan at 3.5% down if you move into one.
Welcome to the House Hacking Success Podcast, where you'll learn the path to free rent and financial freedom through real estate. Featuring your hosts, Brad Labrie and Drew Klingler.
Welcome to the House Hacking Success Podcast. Today we had Joe Williams on. It was an amazing podcast. Today he's going to talk a little bit about how he bought over $1 million worth of real estate for only $30,000 out of pocket. He now has over 1.5 million in just 2 years. And he drops a lot of great tidbits today and a lot of tips for new house hackers.
Yeah, Joe has a ton of experience in house hacking and real estate. He's very knowledgeable. He drops a lot of hints, like you said. And if you're looking to get started in real estate or house hacking, I suggest listening to this podcast.
Yeah, it's amazing. He talked even about a little known loophole where you can actually have two FHA loans at the same time if you buy properties more than 100 miles away from each other. So he just drops a lot of great tidbits. He has so much knowledge. I'm super excited for everyone to listen to this podcast.
Yeah, it's a great show. I think everyone's going to enjoy it.
For sure. Without further ado, here's Joe.
Hey everyone, real quick before we start the show, Brad wrote an amazing ebook that will teach you everything you need to know about house hacking and living rent-free. To get a free copy, text HouseHack, all one word, to 22828. That's HouseHack, all one word, to 22828 to get your free copy.
Well, welcome to the show, Joe. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Super excited for the opportunity to speak with you today and just spread the word about house hacking, which I think is one of the best methods to build wealth, especially early on in your life.
I agree. I know Drew and I both agree. So how did you get started in real estate?
Yeah, so after I graduated, I really just started watching TV and was just kind of building on, seeing all these flipping shows and said, hey, I want to find a way to financial freedom to generate more income than my normal corporate W-2 job. And, started spreading the word through family and friends that I wanted to get into real estate. And out of nowhere, one of my best friends, actually the best man at my wedding, his brother was a realtor, and he was just starting out, and he called me and said, hey, I have a short sale. It was probably 2012 or so. And so a good time, there's a lot of short sales and foreclosures on the market. And he said, the guy that is under contract with the bank right now wants to get out. Would you want to try to take over the contract if the bank would allow it? And I said, yes, let's do that. Like I said, I knew the area, I knew the school district, and it was like $144,000, which was a great deal for the area. And it was in pretty good shape from the pictures. And they actually already had the inspection and everything. So I got to see all of that before I signed on to the contract. And 2 weeks later, the bank came back and said that they accepted it finally. And I had my first rental property. So awesome. It was kind of jumped in, but there shortly after, I found out that I had an offer to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is about 2.5 hours away with my current job. So it was like, oh, what do we do here? Do we keep it? So we kept it for a year or so and rented it out, and ended up eventually selling it when we made our next move to Minneapolis.
Awesome. Back it up real quick for those that don't know. What is your short sale? Just explain that process a little bit, and how, and your process particularly.
Yeah, so a short sale, from my understanding, is someone who owns a property, however it may be. Typically, they have a mortgage on it with a bank, and they no longer can pay for it. So in lieu of going into foreclosure and just stop making payments, they reach out to the bank and say, hey, can we sell this property at a discounted value? That way they can get out of the loan without a foreclosure, and it pays off the rest of the mortgage to the bank. So everybody kind of leaves amicably, and they no longer have to service the mortgage, nor do they have that on their credit report that they got foreclosed on.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. And basically, this was already under contract. They had already done all that on their end, and the realtor had the deal under contract with another buyer who was a mutual friend of mine too. I knew him. Typically with short sales, you're waiting on the bank, and at that time frame, there was a lot of foreclosures and short sales going on. So the banks were completely backed up, and this guy had been waiting to hear back from the bank if they accepted his offer, because the the current homeowner has to accept it, and then they have to present it to the bank. The bank has to accept it, and he was waiting for like 3 months, and he eventually gave up. And it was God's graces. After I signed on, they came back like 2 weeks later and said we accepted. So kind of just fell into it, you know.
Great.
So, Joe, how'd you find out about house hacking?
So really, I started watching Bigger Pockets a lot when I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I work from home, so like during my breaks, I would just, watch YouTube podcasts of Brandon Turner, and Josh Dorkin, I think his name is the founder of Bigger Pockets. And that term just comes up, all the time. And Brandon Turner actually claims he, coined the term. But however, so I knew of the concept of it, but really I was just trying to learn about real estate. And that was the key, I think, is when opportunity presented itself to house hack, I kind of just knew what it was because I had just been learning about real estate and all these different strategies. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't something I had to like kind of go out and investigate and say, how can I make this work? Just putting in the time ahead of time and studying the subject because I knew I wanted to keep investing was key to when the opportunity presented itself, I could take action and not have to be scared or timid about what I was about to get into.
So you kind of mentioned before the show that you looked at the difference in down payments between an investment property and somewhere where you live. Like, can you explain that a little bit to why house hacking is so incredible and how, like that process of you finding out the difference?
So the key is for people that don't know, they say, oh, I want to go buy an investment property. Well, typically when you buy an investment property from, I would say, 95% of the big banks, unless you're using some kind of hard money or private lender, if you're taking a mortgage out with a big bank, they're going to want 25% down typically, and you're going to pay a higher interest rate than what someone that's going to be buying a house to move into would pay. So let's say the interest rates are at 4% today. Well, if you're buying it as an investment property, you can probably expect to pay at least a point more at 5%, plus they're going to want 25% down. So for example, on a $400,000 house, you're going to need $100,000 as a down payment plus closing costs as an investment property. However, if you're buying as a primary residence, you can put as little as 3.5% down. So what is that? $14,000 down payment out of pocket on a primary residence. And the key is that most bank loan programs will allow you to buy up to a 4-unit property with those standardized primary resident mortgages. So you can buy a 4-unit property worth $400,000 with $14,000 out of pocket, which is amazing when you compare that to $100,000 out of pocket. So for someone that's just getting out of college, they might have a couple grand to bank. They can really set a goal very easily. Like, I'm going to save $500 a month, right? And at the end of the year, you got $6,000, and you do that for a year and a half. Next thing you know, you can buy your first 4-unit property worth $400,000. Even if you're only making $40,000 a year, Right. So it definitely opens up the opportunity to dive into real estate investing without having that huge liquid, capital expense by just buying a pure investment property that you don't live in.
Right. That's awesome. So what was your first house hack like? That deal?
Yeah, so we were living in Raleigh, North Carolina, and once again with my corporate job, I had the opportunity to move to Minneapolis up to our headquarters, and we had the rental in Virginia. So we had that for a year. We said, hey, let's sell that. We're moving 1,800 miles away. Let's sell that, get a little money off of it. So we sold it. I think we made about $35,000 on it. And moved up to Minneapolis, and we had been there for like a month, and we rented a townhouse while we were kind of investigating the area. And like a month in, I was at a social gathering with a bunch of coworkers, and started talking to one of them's husband, and said, and he turns out he's a realtor. So I was like, man, I've been really thinking about, continuing investing. I want to buy something here in the Twin Cities while I'm here. I've been looking at like multifamily, duplexes or triplexes or something. And he goes, I'm a realtor and I specialize in investment properties. And I was like, you're kidding, right? And of course, when a realtor says that, it's like, okay, well, how much does he really specialize in investment properties, right?
Right.
Well, turns out this guy is amazing. I'm gonna give him a shout out right now. Eric Eichhoff, Fulton Realty. If you're in Minneapolis, hit him up. Like the most genuine guy, loves helping people. And the next morning I wake up, I have a message on LinkedIn from him. He's like, hey, I've got an off market 4-unit, 1 bed, 1 bath It was like $450,000, like in like the prime area of uptown South Minneapolis, like where everybody wants to be at. That's 20 something, and I was like, man, I don't think I can talk my wife into moving into a one bed, one bath. So I'm gonna have to pass. Turns out he ended up buying that property himself, and there's a whole different story. But so like I'm like, man, so I went back. I was like, this guy's serious. Like he's gonna bring properties to me. So me and my wife had another conversation, and as and behold, like 2 weeks later, he called me. He's like, I've got a deal from one of my, a guy I sold a house to like 10 years ago. He wants to sell it now and upgrade. It's off market. Do you want to go look at it? I've got like 3 people lined up. So we went over there that evening, walked it, and it definitely had some deferred maintenance. But we said, let's do it. Like it's not this amazing, perfect thing that I investigated or found. But when I got the call, I had educated myself enough to take action, and we walked it. It was 7-bed, 3-bath triplex in Northeast Minneapolis, which is like the Arts District, tons of breweries, like up and coming area. And we pulled the trigger on it, went under contract, and it was pretty much like a non-negotiable price, like $375, or we're going to put it on MLS and probably get $400 for it,
Right.
And but it was just so it was actually like a double commission for his brokerage, because one guy, his partner was representing that guy, he was representing me, so they was a win-win for them. This guy wanted to get out, and it was off market, didn't have to show it 100 times, didn't have to harass all the residents, with all these different showings of people coming through. They showed it once. After inspection, the only thing that came back was the boiler wasn't meeting like certain criteria for like oxygen levels. So we actually negotiated raising the price of the house a couple $1,000 if he would pay for the other half of the boiler. So let's say it was like a $5,000 for the boiler. We raised the price from $375 to $377, and then he covered the other costs. But out of my pocket, that's only like $20. Because I'm just having to pay the extra down payment. So whatever 3.5% is on $2,000, that was the difference to me. But I had a brand new boiler walking into this triplex.
That's awesome.
So that was like kind of the only nuance to the deal, and plus it being off market was a win-win for sure.
That's awesome. So you say you used FHA on that one as well?
Yeah, so that was our first multifamily FHA. So we went in like 3.5% down. So I think that's like 15 or 16 grand that we had to put down. It was a triplex. I got all the rent numbers, from my, perspective of being in market for a couple of months. They were definitely under the standard rates in the area. So we had the opportunity to kind of clean up, raise rents. But yeah, 16 grand. And then we got the new boiler, and I think that included like closing costs and everything. It wasn't much. And I was like, man, I can't believe we just bought, a property for, under $20,000. It has 3 units in it, 7 bedrooms, and we moved. So the key is that all the units were occupied. But I think like the rule for FHA is you have to plan to move in within 60 days. I think that's what might be 60, might be 90. But there's a clause in there that says you have to plan to move in within 60 days. That doesn't mean something can't happen. You can push it to 65 because you can. It's kind of a gray area. But we had a lease coming up, a 3-bed in the 3-bedroom upstairs, 40 days out. So we basically notified them that we weren't going to be renewing their lease, and me and my wife moved into that unit. And there was still a 3-bed downstairs, and then a big 1-bed, 1-bath in the back that were rented out.
Awesome.
Very nice. Yeah. So how was your experience at that first house hack?
Yeah, so it was pretty unique, but it just kind of flowed. Like we moved into that upper unit, and kind of just immediately started cleaning it up and just kind of giving it an overall facelift. And that is like one of the tips I would give anybody. Like, don't be afraid to get on YouTube and learn how to do something. A lot of stuff is not that hard. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease and work. It doesn't take a genius to paint. So go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, buy a $130, $150 5-gallon bucket of paint and start putting it on the walls. White makes it bright, and agreeable gray, Sherwin-Williams, like the #1 color in America, put it in the bedrooms. Everybody's happy, right?
Everybody loves it.
Yeah, right now. So do that. Even like changing out like light switches and fans, things like that. Super simple. Gave this whole thing a facelift. The only thing I think I really hired out was the carpet from Home Depot. Free insulation, free steps. And we did that it's actually a 2-level unit. So it's the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor of the house, which is just one big bedroom. And so we did that. And about the time we finished up, the unit downstairs, the lease was coming due, and they had notified me they were going to move out. So we actually rented out the 3-bedroom we were living in and moved downstairs, and did the same exact thing to that unit, painted it and gave it just a facelift. While we were there, we were living rent free, right? I was actually making like $100 a month living there. So the back unit and the upper unit were paying like $3,000, basically $3,000 after I'd raised rents upstairs. So they were running $1,950, and the back unit was $1,000. So it was $2,950 coming in, and my mortgage was like $2,800, and the order bill was like $100. So I was like making like $50 a month to live there.
Yeah.
So that is why house hacking is amazing right there. So during those couple months that we were there, we just were able to stack all of our cash. And I found sort of like a short sale, and I was like, hey, let's try to do like a live-in flip and generate some cash. So we actually moved out of that and moved into this flip in another area of Minneapolis and did that for a year. And then go ahead. You want to ask me about the second Triplex?
So what was that process like doing that flip? I know a lot of people have tried to live in flip. Some people are successful, some people not so much. Like, what was that process like? Did you sort of treat it like a flip, or was it more of a place you were going to live in for a while and you eventually sold?
Yeah, so we decided we were going to live there as long as we were in Minneapolis, right?
Awesome.
So we were kind of looking, and when you're living rent free, you kind of have the ability to look as long as you want, right? I'm not under any pressure. And
sure.
I tell you, it was all about just hustle and groundwork. Like, I was just trying to find a good deal in a super hot little neighborhood called St. Louis Park. If you're from Minneapolis, like, you know it. And it's just like all these little bungalows built in the 40s. And the ones that have been renovated are selling from $300,000 up to even like $500,000, depending on square footage. But the ones that hadn't been renovated are upstairs, 2-bed, 1-bath, and with an unfinished basement, where all that value comes is finishing that basement, or popping the top and adding some extra square footage. So I actually found a listing on Realtor.com that was just below market, right? But it was pending, and I'm like, good gosh, like 207, like, what's going on here? Because it's like definitely below market. So I called the realtor. She was like, it's a short sale, it's pending. Like, the elderly people went into a nursing home, but like it's stagnating or whatever. And I was like, call me. Like a week later, I text her, call me if something goes wrong. Send her an email, call me if something goes wrong. Lo and behold, I got a call out of the blue about, hey, are you still interested in that house? It doesn't look like the bank's going to budge, and this guy who has it under contract won't go up anymore. And so I said, let's meet at Caribou right now, which is the Starbucks of Minneapolis, right? And I signed a contract that day. That buyer would not cancel his contract. So for like another month, we just sat there, and like, she couldn't submit technically the contract that we had signed.
Yeah.
And her and my realtor, I actually brought in Eric again, just so he could kind of handle the process and make sure nothing fell between the cracks. They actually paid that guy $1,000 to walk away, just so the deal could get done, because it was just like dragging on. We're like 3 months into this thing. So they paid him like $1,000 to walk away, and lo and behold, we had a short sale for like 207. That was just pure hustle of how we got it, I think. And
that's awesome.
We were able to, like you said, it works sometimes. It works it worked for me. It didn't work that much for my wife, especially when I was, working night and day, doing a ton of work myself. I basically hired out some electrical. I did all the plumbing myself, and I even jackhammered up the concrete slab in the basement and put the plumbing in, tied it into the main stack, added a bathroom in the basement. So we ended up turning it into a 4-bed, 2-bath. And we cashed out. We made 6 figures on it when we moved back to Richmond. So it was worth the year of sweat for sure, because it basically doubled my salary that year.
That's great. That's really cool. Can we rewind? So when you moved out of that first house hack, did you refinance out of that FHA loan?
Nope. Yeah. So that first house hack, I moved out, and that property right now that I do not live there, cash flows $1,500 a month.
Wow.
So I think it's worth probably $500. I think if you push it, maybe $525. I paid $375 for it like a year and a half ago. So that's something I definitely could do right now. I'm really waiting for that area. It's coming up hard. Like I mentioned, uptown South Minneapolis was a spot to be. Northeast is a new spot. I mean, they've built like a 60 unit, like a 120 unit, like a 40 unit, all within like 3 blocks of this property. It is like the spot to be right now for developers, breweries, the art scene. So I'm kind of just sitting on it. I did acquire after we sold that second flip. I acquired another triplex in that area that was just a pure investment buy, which is why I like house hacking, because it took a lot of money out of my checking account. But it's in that same area, and I'm kind of sitting on them right now. I think they're going to appreciate hopefully into like the low 600s at some point.
Awesome. So let's talk about that second triplex.
Yeah. So
what does that deal look like?
So we were in Minneapolis and at our second flip, and we got pregnant. So my wife's pregnant, and we kind of had enough of winters. So in the great state of Minnesota, my Southern blood doesn't do that -20 too well for so long. And so we started looking back in Virginia, and I she really wanted to buy a house. My wife she's like, we're gonna have a baby. We need to buy a house. I said, this is an opportunity where we can utilize a little known clause that if you move more than 100 miles away, you actually can take out your second FHA loan at 3.5% down if you move into one. And she goes, I said, I'm looking at Richmond, it's gonna cost us like 17 grand, 18 grand, and we can buy another triplex. And she's like, okay, last time, right? So Richmond's a lot tighter market. There's a couple areas that have multifamily, like small multifamily, but it's just not as abundant as Minneapolis for sure. So rents stay a little higher. There's a college right on campus where all of it is. But I ended up finding a property that had terrible pictures on Realtor.com, had been sitting out there for 150 days. And I called my buddy from the original investment property I bought, and I said, hey, Ty Condry, shout out Hometown Realty, go walk this property for me. And he did, sent me some pictures. He said, it needs updating for sure. It's got good bones. The roof is okay. The boilers look old. Like, what do you want to do? And I said, let's offer him 100 grand less than asking, right? They'd already dropped it like 50 grand. And we ended up negotiating, and I think they came coming down like another 50 grand, and we locked it up for 468,000. And it's a triplex in here too in Richmond. And I think after the inspection, we negotiated about another $7,000 in credit. They accepted it immediately, which you go, dang, I should have asked for more, right? Yeah. But basically, I took the inspection report and added everything up and divided it in half and said, give me $7,000. And they said, yes.
Talk a little bit to that credit, because not a whole lot of people know you can negotiate things like that. Like, what does that look like? How did you negotiate that?
Yeah. So we got an inspection. And typically every contract that any realtor is going to provide is going to have some kind of clause in it for an inspection period, be it 7 to 10 days, and you need to take action after going under the contract. So you fire off the inspection, whatever comes back, you technically can ask for anything you want. The seller has the right to say absolutely not, and the deal could go stale at that point if you don't come to terms. But if you're reasonable, a lot of times in the head of the seller, you're under contract, they've already mentally sold that property. So I think as long as you're reasonable, there's a good chance they're going to agree to at least half of what you're asking. In this case, it's a triplex. It's 115 years or 108 years old. This one is. There's stuff that they're going to find for sure.
Right.
So we basically added up everything on there. I think it was like 12 or 14 grand. And those are the estimates given by the inspection company to have a professional come out and fix it. I knew a lot of the stuff, like, it was just very simple stuff. You know what I mean? Nothing big at all. Light switch didn't work, estimate $150. That's 2 wires and $1 at Home Depot, literally. And so I added it up, divided it in half, said, give me another $7,000 off at closing. And that credit actually goes, if you can get them to give you the credit versus making the repairs themselves, that goes to the actual cash you have to take to the closing table. So in this case, it was like whatever it is, 3.5% on 468. That's what I did as a down payment plus closing costs. Added together, that's the cash you need to close. Well, if you take seven grand of credit, the actual title agency or your closing lawyer, depending on which state you are, they take that 7 grand and right off the top of what you owe. So it reduces your cash to bring to the closing table by that amount, which is amazing, especially if you're already a little tight on money and you have a property, you got 15 grand down, another 5,000 in closing, and all of a sudden they give you a 7,000 on credit. It takes the would-be 20 grand down to 13, and it's like, whoa, I just bought this property for $15,000 or $13,000 versus 22. So it's definitely something you should always ask for, even if there's not a lot to be had, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so from my understanding, in about 3 weeks, you're moving out of that triplex into a single family, right? Tell us a little bit about that deal.
Yeah, so we moved into the triplex. The upstairs unit was vacant and probably in the roughest shape, and the other two units were currently rented. So we moved into the vacant 2-bed, 1-bath upstairs, and basically did the same thing. Paint, ceiling fans, switches, lights, new toilet, new vanity, new mirror, all pretty simple stuff when it comes on to it. And we've been up there for we were up there for 2 months, and the downstairs unit, they'd already told me they were moving out right when I bought it. So we moved downstairs. Tenants move in upstairs actually November 1st. So here, in a couple days, they move in upstairs. We're done renovating this downstairs really, and on November 8th, we actually move into our my wife is hoping 3 to 5 year home.
Awesome.
So let's say a nice single family in another area of town. So then we'll have this triplex fully rented. We had $17,000 in the deal to close on it, and I think I added up the numbers the other day. We've got $5 grand in renovation costs, and I have 2 units that are completely updated, rocking and rolling. And the back unit, he's there doing his thing. And if he moves out, it's a small 1-bed, 1-bath. I'll do the same thing there. Paint, light switches. It just really freshens it up and makes it rent easy for that matter. Especially when you have 20, 30 years of deferred maintenance, right? Even patching poster holes and holes from pictures is the easiest thing ever, but no one does it,
So now, if I'm doing my math correctly, you got the 9 units, which worth over $1 million for about 30 grand out of pocket, correct? And that's kind of what house hacking has allowed you to do.
Yeah, actually, so I have 9 units. One of them I bought outright. That's not even in the equation.
Okay.
So the other 2, about 30,000 out of pocket, and those properties are both worth over 500,000 in current market today. So about 30,000 out of pocket, plus some renovation cost over time. But a lot of that was coming from me being able to save money while I lived there for free. And then we moved out. I had $1,500 in cash flow coming in. So you put a couple grand in each unit. It's paid off in 2-3 months.
Yeah, no kidding.
But now I have a house I bought for $468 and then $375, and they're both worth over $500,000 in the current market. So and that has allowed me to buy that 3rd triplex in Minneapolis in the same area. And that one, in all reality, I paid $386 for it. It's currently rented out, hasn't been updated, but I put a feeler out on Craigslist at $525 and had people just beating down the door. Off market, no commission, no realtor, make me an offer, and I think that one's worth over 500 too. So I'm I'm loving it, and now it's trying to figure out how to take these and move them into something larger, such as a 12 unit here in Richmond. That's really the key. I want to sell one or refinance, take cash out, and try to get into something bigger here in the area. So.
That's awesome. So one thing we didn't touch on, you have the 2 back in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
What does the property management look like? How does that working with property managers and all that?
So the one that I acquired through house hacking, I still self-manage that. So I set it up like a business. I use an online service called Tenant Cloud. It's $9 a month. I keep track all my accounting through it. It allows the tenants to put in maintenance requests, message me. I have a Gmail account and a Google number that I work with. Tenant Cloud also allows you to do bank drafts. I also utilize Venmo and PayPal, all free of cost to me and them. And I really, when I moved, it was great because I had trained all of those residents, which I think is key to every landlord or management company. You have to train the people you're bringing in to work how you want them to work. So here's how you contact me. Here's how you get things done. Here's what we expect out of you. So having good, strong leases, and running it like a business is key. You can't be their friend. The second house I bought there as an investment, I actually, a quick side note, I generated that one off of Craigslist. So I was looking in the area, everything on MLS is, retail price, expensive. And I reached out to people that had rental listings on Craigslist, right? Duplex for rent, 2-bed, 1-bath. And I said, hey, I'm not looking to buy. I'm a small investor in the area. I'm actually looking to buy another multifamily in this area. Would you be willing to consider an offer? And I probably sent out 20 emails and just off Craigslist, 2 days of work, like 30 minutes maybe. And someone emailed back, said, hey, I live in California. I've been thinking about selling my, multifamily. It's actually not a duplex. It's a triplex. Let's talk. So we had one conversation. I said, I'm thinking like $385 for it. And I said, think about it. Let me know. That's no commissions, no realtor. We'll go knock it out at the closing attorney. She called me back like a week later and said, I talked to a realtor friend and I think I can do 386. And I had to stop myself. It's like, oh, you're beating me up over $1,000. I said, I think that's completely fair. And a couple months later, we ended up closing on it, and that's how I acquired that one. And that one was currently under management already with a management company, and they had pretty reasonable fees. It's like I think it's like $195 a month. So it's not even a percentage. It was like a flat fee per unit, like $65 a unit or something like that. And then obviously maintenance costs. So I've just left that one where it is. It keeps it off my table. And there's been a couple little maintenance issues, but nothing crazy. And the other one, the biggest issue is when you have a turnover and you're managing from afar. You have to have someone local on site to go show it. So I've enlisted the help of a realtor friend and actually just a friend too, just a business professional. I said, hey, you want to make a little extra money? And I'll line up like 3 showings and he'll go over there and show it. And I just send him like $150,
awesome.
Versus like a management company where they want at least a half month of rent or even a full month of rent.
Yeah. Awesome. So what tips would you give to people that are new to house hacking, that are trying to get into house hacking?
Yeah. So I would say first thing, educate yourself to some degree. If you know nothing about real estate, it's not that hard to figure it out nowadays, right? There's some great resources, house hacking success right here in front of you, bigger pockets. If you search those 2 terms, you'll have more information than you ever would need. The second tip is it's not that hard, right? The loan program I just talked about and some on the other podcast, the FHA 203K, these are things that the government is backing. They want people to use them. Like this is how our government makes money nowadays, off of debt, right? Off of mortgages. So they're backed by them. Educate yourself, find you a loan professional, find you a realtor, and spread the news that you want to buy, right? Like you're in the market. And the biggest thing is do it while you're young. This is probably like the single best thing you can do in your 20s. When you get out of college or you get out of trade school or get out of high school and you're going into the workforce, we're talking about 15 grand down. Save money, make it happen. And a lot of markets in the Midwest, you can probably do it for 10 grand down. I'm in like a pretty hot market in Minneapolis. Like I'm talking downtown, the spot to be. And, we're buying triplexes for $15,000, $17,000. Utilizing these things. So it's not hard to do. I would say another tip is don't be lazy, right? You see a lot of these shows on TV where everybody's paying everybody to do everything, right? Like go get paint, buy a roller and do it. Spend a Saturday painting the kitchen. It's not that hard, right? Like I literally I was busy the other day and I was like, actually me and my wife are going to Scotland, right? And we had just moved in upstairs. And I said, how great would it be if we paid someone to paint this whole unit while we were going to Scotland, right? So I got 2 quotes. One, super professional, logo van, showed up with a laser, the whole 9. Got to get the quote, $5,800. This is a 2-bed, 1 bath, 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen, right? 12-foot ceilings, so big walls, but $5,800. I was like, kick rocks, my man. Like, sorry, not happening. Then I get like the guy off Craigslist, shows up, walks around for 5 minutes, sends me an email, $3,800. Me and my wife had agreed on $2 grand, right? Yeah. And my dad said, so what are you going to do? I said, looks like I'm going to Home Depot to buy some paint.
Yeah. I've done a few flips, and painting is not cheap. And so I bought myself a professional sprayer, and I still paint every single one of my places.
Yep. Sprayer, if you can, especially for exterior and things like that. And even like you can get on Amazon, and Wooster makes an 18-inch roller, 18-inch bucket, a nice stick. It'll cost you like $100. And I mean, that thing has been rocking and rolling for 2 years now. And I would say that's the number one thing I do myself is paint, right? It saves so much money. It's just your time, really. So you throw on Bigger Pockets, throw on House Hacking podcast, and you listen to it, and you learn while you're doing it. I kid you not, I did that for a year, and now I'm here a year and a half later with 9 units. Cash flowing every month. I mean, the biggest thing is if you want to do it, you have to put in the work. That's the bottom line. Just like anything, you can't study for a test for 30 minutes and then get upset about the results, right? What were you expecting, right? So if you're serious about real estate investing, finding financial freedom, just do it. That's the tip, right? Like the resources are there. Your business professionals are there, your mortgage loan officers, your real estate agents, your property management companies. Like you don't have to be a landlord. Find a deal that makes sense with property management, right? And nowadays there's a million ways to find deals, be it wholesalers, realtors, Craigslist, Realtor.com. I found 2 of my short sales, one short sale on Realtor.com, and then one of my triplexes on Realtor.com. It's not like it was hidden. It just had crappy pictures, right? And it had a bunch of deferred maintenance, and no one wanted to mess with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't touched one pipe here. I haven't put a boiler in. I haven't put a roof on. Nothing crazy. It's all stuff above the walls. So.
Yeah. Just to add on to all those awesome tips, if you find a good realtor, they're going to walk you through the buying of the house. Like that whole process, you don't have to have any fear of not knowing how that process works. They're going to hold your hand, help you out. And one thing to add is, just because a house isn't accepting or they don't list that they're accepting FHA loans does not mean you can't offer an FHA loan. Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask if they're not listing that.
Yeah. And actually this second triplex I bought, they were under contract at some point with another potential buyer with the FHA loan. And when we presented it, they balked at it. And the actual person that had it was a realtor, but she had a ton of properties. She's like retiring, unloading them, and they balked at it. My realtor said, "This dude's solid. Like he's going to close on it." And I mean, that's all it took. That was all it took was literally he just said he's going to close if we can come to terms, right? I mean, and our initial offer was $100,000 less than they were asking, but we were serious, and like they kick back their terms, we'd come back. They'd kick back, we'd come back, immediately, like within hours, not, we're not waiting days, not trying to play this game. Like we want it. Let's figure this thing out. Yeah. And I would say the next thing is don't have analysis paralysis. A lot of people try to watch everything, read everything. That's great. But once you've learned and you've educated yourself and you find other people that you can kind of model, right? In life, you can model successful people. And they did it just like you can. So don't have analysis paralysis. Don't try to find this amazing, perfect deal that is just like no one's found it. It's in the cracks. You're going to make $1 million off of it. Find a deal that makes sense, that you can clean up, use a 203 loan to clean it up, do it yourself with a couple grand here and there, and build that sweat equity, and then move out or live there rent free. One of the two. Yeah. That's house hacking.
Yeah, to me, one deal is worth 1,000 books. Like
that's
people
right.
sit there and read and listen to podcasts and all that, but that one deal, and then you go back and read that same book, and the book is just totally different to you because you now experience it through your deal.
That's right.
Where a lot of people do have analysis paralysis, and they'll sit there and read and try to find the perfect deal, and it's very, very difficult, especially in a market like this, to find that perfect deal.
Yeah, and like you said, it was worth 1,000 books, right? Like after my second triplex, that third one that I found on Craigslist, I didn't even use a realtor. I went to the closing title agency in Minneapolis that I've used. I was like, "Hey, Lori, I've got a deal. What do I need to do?" And she's a professional. She's closed on 2 of my houses. I mean, she closes on a ton for other realtors, and that's what she does. And she goes, "Okay, here's what we need. Boom, boom, boom." And there was a little hiccup with Venmo payments. I was in Scotland downstairs at a computer at 10 o'clock at night trying to get Venmo transactions because you can see them coming into the checking account, but it doesn't say where they're coming from other than Venmo. And they wanted to match them up to the leases of that house, right? To say these are the people paying. Well, Venmo doesn't make it that easy to extract it. So I'm like downstairs at a 5-star hotel in Scotland, at 10 o'clock at night behind the front desk because they didn't have a business computer, getting Venmo transactions and sending them in. But we closed on it, so that's what matters. And but yeah, those are some quick tips. And there's a ton out there. But the biggest things are don't be lazy, get after it, and don't force it. Find something that's going to work and just make it happen.
Awesome.
Absolutely. What kind of financing tips would you give to people that are just getting started?
Yeah, I would say that's a great question, right? Because a lot of people they look at these low down payment loans, like the FHA 3.5, and what our parents will tell us is, oh, those loans. If anybody that knows anything about buying a house, they say, oh, they have PMI, and for people who don't know, PMI is private mortgage insurance, and that's insurance you're paying every time you make a loan payment that secures that loan with the bank, right? So it's a government backed loan, and then you're paying insurance on top of it because the government only backs a certain percentage for the bank. So if you go to default on it, the government covers that bank for a certain percentage, and then your PMI covers the other percentage. So the bank feels comfortable giving you that loan with such a low down payment and lesser restrictions on like your personal income and things like that. So don't look at PMI as like this huge negative. Look at the deal. Look at it as a business, fixed cost, right? Like I own a building. I have to pay the light bill every month. I have to pay the water bill every month, like whatever it might be. PMI is just a fixed cost to you. It's coming on your mortgage with your taxes and your insurance and your PMI. If the rents coming in are going to cover that mortgage, no matter what's included in it, then it makes sense. So if you're going to profit $1,000 a month, that's $1,000 a month. Who cares if you're paying PMI? So don't be afraid of these low down payment options just because someone else tells you that it's not the most economic way to go about buying a house.
And a lot of people forget how awesome fixed rate debt really is.
Yep.
I'm an agent in the commercial space, right? And
Yep.
there's really not a whole lot of fixed rate debt. You got balloons and all these other things.
Yeah, 5 years.
And
you amortize it over 25 years, but you still after 5 years you got to refi, right?
Yeah, and if you were an investor, right, paying that higher interest rate, you're going to pay that PMI payment anyway in interest.
Yep.
Because you're an investor. Because instead of a 4% interest rate, you're going to have a 5.8 or a 6% interest rate or whatever it comes out to be, and you're going to pay the same payment as PMI anyway. A lot of people get hung up on it, and it's such a small price to pay to get a $500,000 triplex in Minneapolis.
Yeah, $130 a month, right? But I'm not paying for it anyways.
Exactly.
The resident is, so it doesn't matter to me, right?
Exactly.
So that loan, I pay PMI on, I pay the water bill there, and after I moved out, it's cash flowing about $1,500 a month, give or take, and that's like fixing something every month, like $50, nothing crazy. But yeah, that's probably my number one, financing tip is utilize the easy options in front of you. Yeah, yes, there's hard money. Yes, there's private money. That's, in my eyes, definitely a harder avenue to take to a first-time investor. And like you just said, being able to lock up $400,000, $500,000 for 30 years at the one I just bought in Richmond, I locked in for 3.625. This was like 6 months ago, right? Yeah. And I think rates are even. The house I just bought that I'm moving into locked up at 3.49 for 30 years. I told my wife jokingly like a year and a half ago, I wanted to take out $1 million in debt while rates were under 4%. And here I am, a year and a half later with like $1.5 million or $1.3 million in mortgage payments, but I'm only actually paying for one of them. And in all reality, if I didn't want to, the cash flow coming off of all those 9 units would pay 100% of my mortgage at my new house, and then some, right? Yeah. So in theory, like I don't have to pay for anything, and I have 9 units and a 3,000 square foot single family house that I'm going to be living in.
Yeah,
and that's. And in 2 years, that's what house hacking can do.
Absolutely.
Living free.
2 years. 2 years. So what are your long-term real estate goals?
So, right off, the easy thing to say is 40 by 40. I'm at 9 now. I'm 35. I'm an old man. I should have started way earlier. That's why I say do it while you're young. If I was 24 and started this, I couldn't imagine where I'd be at right now. You're 27 years old with 9 units. First of all, I'd be probably wasting a lot of money versus what I'm doing now, right? But 40 by 40, I definitely want to take these and kind of bounce into something bigger. I fired up my wholesale business. I've got, that rocket and rolling. So trying to generate some cash. The market in Richmond's not cheap. There's not like a ton of deals or anything. It's a lot of old time investors. It's an old city. So you got a lot, there's a handful of guys that own everything, right? And when they come off of something, it's, usually at a pretty premium price.
Yeah.
Like there's an old guy here the other day, and like everybody knows him, and he sold like 5 properties for like $17 million.
Wow.
6 units, 8 units, 12 units. Well, guess what? Another old guy that everybody knows bought them all.
Yeah.
It never hit the market.
Right.
It was an under table deal. So there's a couple that pop up every now and then. So I definitely want to get into like some 12 units, things like that, and just kind of keep generating, my multifamily, growing my multifamily portfolio. And I'd like to retire at like 40, at the latest 45 from my corporate job, and then just really be doing, my multifamily investments, and we'll see. I mean, I've kind of got like a grand plan of, having some kind of capital company, some kind of real estate company, and then probably like a management company that's going to manage my rentals plus others. So
that's awesome.
So we'll see. I'm definitely coming through a route of going to college, getting a business degree, getting an MBA, working for a Fortune 500 company. And now I'm saying, God, it's so much nicer to have money, with a mailbox money, making money while I sleep, not getting, I'm salary, but still like, I find myself working almost like an hourly rate, in theory. But it's so much nicer just to be able to have these things out here paying you after you put in the work. And then you can take that money you're making and have other people handle the messes that you don't want to deal with.
And even taking that route, you're still going to retire 10 or 20 years before a lot of your counterparts.
100%. And that's kind of like not the fallback plan, but like I said, I'll still look at it. I'm like, still, like I'm not going to have to wait till I'm 62 or 64, right? Yeah. Like I'm still going to be out of there by 50 at the latest, but I'm trying to target 40. It's only 5 years from now. And in all reality, I need more stuff to do because I'm halfway crazy. So, like if I didn't have a job, like I'd be probably driving my wife crazy. I gotta be doing something. So.
Cool. So we all like to read. I was wondering what your favorite mindset or business book is.
Yeah. So I thought about this a little bit, and I think the best business book you can pick up, and it's like literally like you can get like a paperback for like $1, $2 on Amazon. But I'm an Audible guy. I listen while I'm driving. I listen while I'm painting. I listen while I'm doing anything. It's either Spotify or Audible, one of the two. It's always in my ears. And The Richest Man in Babylon, which I think is it's an easy read. It's not too technical, but it just helps you kind of wrap your mind and head around like generating money, right? You can generate money for the day, or you can generate money for a lifetime. And I would say go read that book. George Clausen, I think is the author's name. It was written in like 1925 or 1926 or something. It's old, but it's a very simple read or listen. And I don't think anybody would hate that they listen to it. And I actually had another one by an inspirational former Navy SEAL named David Goggins. If you haven't heard of him, he has a pretty inspirational story, and he's kind of come from a super rough childhood through Navy SEALs, I think Army Ranger training, like Air Force, Special Forces. He's the only person to do all three, and now he's like this ultra endurance athlete. Just ran like a 240-mile 5-day race in like Moab, Utah. The book's hardcore, rough around the edges, vulgarities, but it will teach you to just buck up, defy your brain, master your brain, defy the odds, and become something that the average person doesn't want to be in our reality. So
every time I listen to Goggins, I just feel smaller, and it's a great feeling.
So actually, I was in Utah last week, right after that race, and I ran into him in the airport. So I'm sitting there waiting on my flight, and I was just like scrolling Instagram, and like Joe Rogan and Cameron Haynes, some other endurance athletes were talking. Cameron Haynes, endurance athlete, talking about him, and I saw he had to drop out at like mile 214 of this race. And I'm standing there, and I look up in front of Jamba Juice. It's David Goggins, right? So I walk up, and I'm like, "You trying to get some juice?" And he just like looks over at me, and I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I saw on Instagram like get a drop out." And he said, "I was like, how you feeling?" He was like, "I'm good." And he was like super nice. Yeah. And I was just like, "Dude, you're bad to the bone." And he was like, "I appreciate it." And I got a selfie. He fist bumped me. He was like, "Stay hard, stay hard." And if you see his stuff when he's running, he's always like, "They don't know me. They don't know me." Yeah. And I walked away. I was like, "Goggins." And he looked at me. I was like, "They don't know you, son. They don't know you." And he laughed. But awesome. Super nice guy, very motivational. I actually have a poster of the 10 challenges he gives you in that book on my wall in my office. So my favorite is take souls. So you got to read the book to understand it. But the 10 challenges he gives. Those are my 2 business and mindset books for sure.
That's awesome. What about real estate specific books?
Well, what does everybody say? Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
That's
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the book that gets underneath your skin that says, I have to figure this thing out, right? It's the entryway for sure. But I would say the next book, Cash Flow Quadrant, really is kind of a real estate / business book. And wraps your head around, like, where do I want to be in this world, right? Do I want to be an employee? Do I want to be a small business owner, right? Do I want to be an investor? So read Cash Flow Quadrant if you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that would just build on. And that's also by Robert Kiyosaki. That would just build on what you've already learned in Rich Dad, Poor Dad and help you take action, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad gets underneath your skin, says, I got to figure this thing out. I got to figure out how to be wealthy, right? What are the rich doing, right? They don't work for money. And then Cash Flow Quadrant helps you take action on that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we appreciate it. We want to get you out of here. We know you got some things going on, but you do house hack coaching, and also people may want to find out more about you. So you got 15 minutes free. People can call into your coaching program, as I understand, right? Tell them a little about where they can find you and a little bit about that.
Yeah, so first off, my personal Instagram's jwilliams84, jwilliams84, super easy. That's just kind of my normal life. Don't do a ton of, real estate stuff on there. But you can also check me out at josephwilliams.co. That's .co, not com, josephwilliams.co. And then House Hacking Coach on Instagram as well, where it's a little bit more. And there's a link to our website, josephwilliams.co on there. Like you said, 15 minutes free. We'd love to let you call in, see where you're at, talk strategy. And then we're willing to help you, walk you through the entire process, in your market, up to even helping you find a home with a realtor. But obviously there's a cost associated, like the more hours you get. But just a good strategy session to kind of ground you and try to take you into this house hacking world is just $100 or so. So reach out, personal or business. We'd love to hear from you. And, thanks to guys for having me on and the opportunity. I love spreading the information about house hacking. I think it's, like I said, the single best method to build wealth, especially early on in your career or life.
Yeah, there's a lot of great content. We really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Joe. And to our listeners, the links to Joe's profile and website are going to be in the description. So go check them out.
Yeah, perfect.
For sure. All right, Joe, have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Be good.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. New episodes released every Wednesday and Friday.